Hello, welcome to Movies I Love with yours truly, Nomfanelo. So the film that I'll be covering today is Beverly Hills Cop, the first one. I'll be doing this in honor of the latest one called Beverly Hills Cop Axel F or Beverly Hills Cop 4 that is now streaming on Netflix. So the first one is came out in 1984. It is an action comedy film. It's directed by Martin Brest, who's known for directing films such as Midnight Run and Geely. The film stars Eddie Murphy, Judge Reinhold, and John Ashton. So let's get into why I love this movie. Well, first off, like as a buddy cop movie, this script, the movie just nails all those beats down. Because essentially, we have what Eddie Murphy, where he kind of reluctantly teams up with Billy and Taggart to investigate his friend Mikey's death, because clearly there's some hiccups along the way, which is a part of the territory, especially for Axel Foley. But eventually they nail Victor down, and all the bad guys are thrown into jail. So, as a buddy cop movie, this one works. I would say it's one of my favorite buddy cop movies of all time. And the premise, yeah, like is simple. Love Eddie Murphy playing the lone cop from Detroit, where he decides to go to Beverly Hills against his boss, his Inspector Taggart, against his wishes to investigate Mikey's death. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward with the premise, and and also too, it's just funny, like with Axel always break disregarding the rules just to keep going forward with the case and all that stuff. And the performances in this movie are solid. So Eddie Murphy obviously did a great job as Axel Foley. It was just interesting that I learned from the an episode of the Rewatchables when they did Beverly Hills Cop that apparently Sylvester Stallone was the first choice for this movie, and it was under a different iteration at that point, and that obviously fell through and then eventually landed on Eddie Murphy. And this movie essentially made Eddie Murphy to be this huge star because at the time he was only doing SNL. Um, he was great in that show, of course, just based on the clips that I've seen. But with this movie, just takes him to a whole new level because he gets to, of course, display his comedic chops while also using his dramatic beats as well too. Like when it comes to the scenes with Jenny, and like when he is in the low places throughout this movie. And obviously, the other actors in this movie did a great job as well too. Because I love the pairing of Judge Reinhold and John Ashton as Rosewood and Taggart. They did a great job with this movie, along too with Ronnie Cox as their boss, and Paul Reiser is great as Jeffrey. Like his lines of "Oh, this is not my locker," like those type of moments he has. Also, too, in the second one is hilarious as well too. And this movie is like the typical 80s movie. It's always fun, like just like rewatching like these old movies, how like I wouldn't say timeless, but just how representative it was at the time. Like in this case, like clearly with goes down to the fashion and the aesthetic of the movie and all that stuff. It really represented the times, even though like it was modern, like when they were filming it at the time. But it's just everything about it. Looking at it now, like it really um represents the times. And also, too, what I like about this movie is the music. So In an episode I did of top 40 movie soundtracks, I did talk about this movie was on the list. But essentially, just to summarize it, I love the music for this movie. I thought Harold Faltermeyer, did a great job with the score. And of course, the Axel F, that theme song, of course. Is great, and in ways it kind of represents the movie, and also too with the pop culture at the time, as that is being constantly reused. Because I remember, like, what was it, back in the 2000s, someone like remixed that song, and I think, what was it, the Crazy Frog song, I can't remember the exact title, but yeah, this that theme is always constantly like reused. And I bet, like, with the new film, which I have not seen yet at the time of this recording, that theme song, of course, is gonna be used in that one as well too. And of course, like, the soundtrack of the songs, like by Patti LaBelle, is great, and also to the Pointer Sisters. All that is just awesome. And I like how, like, the jokes, um, of course, they're pretty blunt and all that stuff, where they're not afraid to go there. But also too, it doesn't like stray you away, if that makes sense. So I liked the whole, like, banana in the tailpipe joke. I thought that was hilarious. And also too, like, for example, like the hotel scene when Axel's trying to book a hotel, tries to come up with this story, like, of him being like a journalist for Rolling Stone, trying to get Michael Jackson to interview and all that stuff. So that one was cool. Because, and also too, like, the way that they used, I don't know if this was intentional or not, how they use sort of like racism in a way, like, it's not like so much in your face, but in a way, like, with Axel Foley, kind of uses it to his advantage, like, for example, with that hotel scene. And then also too, like, when he's being thrown out of the window by the cops, when he tries to get to Victor Maitland's work and all that stuff. But yeah, like, I thought, for me, the jokes worked in this movie. Like, it wasn't too, like, over the top, and while also it wasn't underused at the same time. And going back to, bit of all over the place, but going back to with Sly Stallone, because I just wondered, like, when Eddie Murphy was cast in the role, like, were those aspects involving the racism, like, if that was intentional to include in the script, since his character, I guess, was reworked, I guess, to reflect all that stuff. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I thought, yeah, they did a great job on that front. And in terms of my critiques, I don't have too many, but the main one involves, like, with the villain subplot. Because the way how it's set up is that when Mikey visits Axel Foley, he shows him this, I believe, is German bear bonds that apparently was stolen, because Axel tries to ask him, and he's, doesn't give him a straightforward answer, essentially. And then, of course, like, when Axel goes after Victor Maitland, all of a sudden it just became all about the drugs. Throughout the movie, they made a big deal about finding the drugs inside the coffee grounds inside the warehouse. So I'm just wondering, like, what was the motivation, all that stuff, like, was this all about the bonds that Mikey stole, or was it all about the drugs? I wasn't too sure on that front, but I think it seemed obvious it was all about the drugs. But I think in that case, I think the whole bearer bonds thing could have removed, and maybe he could have just took, like, a bag or two of cocaine or whatever, and called that a day. And also, too, a critique I have is that in the end credits, The font was in bright red, which like every time I see that, I kind of have to like take a step back because it was so much in your face. I just wish, because usually with end credits it's always in white color font, and all that stuff, but here it's bright red. I don't know why they did that choice, but yeah, I just wish it was in a different color, perhaps. And I want to talk about the other films in the franchise. So the second one, so originally I was going to talk about the second one with the first one, but because like I want to talk about this movie for my Rediscovered Movies podcast at some point, that's why I decided not to go into that movie. But essentially, my general thoughts about Beverly Hills Cop 2 is that it's highly like underrated. I enjoyed this movie, even though like it got what mixed negative reviews at the time. For me, it was just awesome, and I thought Tony Scott did a great job directing this movie, like in terms of where it needed to go, in terms of story and aesthetic and all that stuff. The third one, for me, I remember disappointing because I remember like as a kid growing up with the VHS movies I've watched at the time, I remember seeing ads, these brief ads on the third movie. And then eventually when I got to watch it, I just remember being disappointed because it seemed like it they wanted to make it more family friendly, and as opposed to the other two movies which are rated R. And I did not get that choice, to be honest. I don't know, maybe there were complaints that kids didn't enjoy the other two movies. I don't know why, but I just did not get that choice. But yeah, like it just, nothing for me with that movie worked with the third one. That's, and it was just funny how they tried to do like this whole rip off of Disney World, or is it Disneyland? I don't remember, but yeah, like when they did that whole storyline, I thought was hilarious, but in a bad way. And the latest one, Axel F. So I have not seen that yet, but based off the trailers, it looks promising. So hopefully it ends up being good by the time I see it. I mean, we shall see. I'll be honest, because I remember like seeing videos at the time where apparently there were these like early screenings, whatever, where I guess it was indicated that the movie was terrible, just based off these different subplots and all that stuff. So which kind of got me worried, but just based off the trailer that I saw, I'm like, okay, this could work. Even though like it has its isms that kind of gives me red flags, but you know, we'll just have to wait and see. I just hope this one is better than the latest Bad Boys movie, which kind of, you know, disappointed me and all that stuff. You could check out my review for that movie on Letterbox. But yeah, like I might do a review for this latest Beverly Hills Cop movie on Letterbox if I feel like doing it. But I'm sure you could check that out whenever I do see it. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on Beverly Hills Cop. I would love to know, what do you guys think about this movie? Is this your favorite of the franchise? Let me know in the comment section. Also, too, you could check out the link for my socials in description. And also, too, if you want to support me, you could visit my Buy Me a Coffee link, which is in the description, where you could support me by donation or join my membership there. And I want to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to catch you on the next one.